Greg Koukl here says when we avoid questions, that may be the only recourse we have. When this happens, it may be helpful for you to narrate the debate, to kind of go with the flow, and your Columbo questions are going to help clarify to you what you understand, what you don't understand, but still moving the conversation. Mm-hmm. So when a cherished view is at stake, it's not unusual for people to raise empty protest objections that sound worthwhile, but simply can't be defended once examined. Narrating the debate often exposes a lack of substance behind the bluster. So sometimes when that person's raging about how he's going to make you not a Christian by the end of the semester, he's done it to, 13 classes before you, and will probably continue to do it after you. And so it's one of those things where asking those questions of what do you mean by that, mm-hmm. and how did you come to that conclusion might kind of stop them. Hold on, I was not expecting. You're supposed to sit there and take it. Or the person who knows a lot may only know up to a certain point where you ask them, what do you mean by that, and how did you come to that conclusion? So. I read it in a book, and I was able to regurgitate it back to you. Yeah. Okay. Well, here's William Lane Craig who says this mm-hmm. in opposition to that. What do you mean by that?
Let me just say one more thing about what he says about narrating the debate. He gives this as a tip. Right. Right. He says it's a simple way to bring clarity to a discussion or pull the curtain back on someone who is illicitly dodging your point. Right. This person may try to change the subject or assert their particular point. So when this happens, it may be helpful for you to narrate debate. Take a moment to step outside of the conversation, in a sense, and describe to your friend the turn the discussion is just taken, right? In other words, you want to kind of step out and put the discussion on the table so both of you can look at it here, right? He says you might want to say something like this. I want you to notice the turn our talk just took. First, you made a fairly controversial statement, and I asked you a couple of questions about it. So far, you haven't answered them. Instead, you've taken off in another direction. Before we move on to a new topic, would it be okay with you if we finish the old one? I'm really interested in your response, right? So what have you done here? Well, what you've done is you've explained what has happened. That's what he means by narrating the debate, right? And that way it puts the, it allows that person then to, puts the burden of proof back on that person for them to explain the original claim that they've made, right? So instead of them being, changing the subject and that sort of thing.
Yeah, attacking you personally.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So they name call, and you say, well, let me, he says, wait a minute, right? He says, notice what's happened here. I asked you a question, and what you did instead of answering the question is called me this particular name. Now, I may or may not be that, right? Yeah. But I like to hear what you have to say about the question that I ask, right? So there, you've narrated debate, got them back on course, and you can continue your discussion, right? And so he thinks that this is this is kind of a tip, and it's not quite the Aikido move, but it's similar to it.
It's a way of summarizing in clear terms the illicit move the other person in the conversation has made, such as avoiding an issue or offering cleverly worded, deceptive, or distorted reasons.